Another edition of Sunday, Bloody Sunday, here on the ESPN College Football YouTube channel. I am Matt Barrie. Year 3 is Sunday, Bloody Sunday, by the way. We appreciate everyone who stops by, subscribes, and listens to the channel. If you're not familiar with how we go about it here on Sunday mornings, I wake up sleep deprived from a long day in studio, 11:30 a.m. Last night I got home at 2:30 a.m. I show up sleep deprived on Sunday with a Bloody Mary with you, the beautiful people, and we talk football of what happened around the country. Some fan bases aren't feeling so good, so they do the libation of their choice. I always go Bloody Mary, hence the name of the show. Today, I've got Frank's Red Hot Bloody Mary mix, a couple of asparagus and olives in there to really get into what was a week 2 that people said the slate wasn't good, and every time that happens, wild stuff happens, and it did the same thing yesterday after week 2. And I want to start off. And I know we all are connected to somewhere, and we all have an alma mater, and we all have a team. And whether on the grand scheme of things, your alma mater is a national player, it's not, it's something that means a lot to you. And so I typically will start off with a cheers to my alma mater, Arizona State. And I'm going to do it again. Cheers to my alma mater, Arizona State, because for the first time in program history, we, the Sun Devils, beat an SEC team. If you missed it, it happened late last night at after 2 a.m. They beat Mississippi State 30-23. And the reason I'm bringing this up, it was too late to give Cam Skattebo a helmet sticker on College Football Final. But cheers to Cam Skattebo. Listen to these numbers. 33 carries, 262 yards rushing. And ASU's 30-23 win. I'm excited for this week because myself and Dan Mullen, we will be on the call Thursday night of undefeated Arizona State traveling to undefeated Texas State, who is one of the group of 5 teams that could be represented in the college football playoff. So I always indulge myself in a cheers to my alma mater, Arizona State, 2-0 under second-year head coach Kenny Dillingham. And so that's where I will leave that. Thank you for indulging me with the Arizona State love. I also want to start off, a lot of cheers to get to this morning. That's the format of the show. We cheers to the teams and their players who did something great. And that's, I'm going to start off with cheers to Northern Illinois taking out Notre Dame 16-14 on the road. There are a couple of superlatives attached to this for Northern Illinois. It's the first time they've ever beat an AP top 10 ranked team. Superlative number 1. Superlative number 2, it's the first time Notre Dame has lost to a MAC team. This was shocking. And it was shocking because Notre Dame got the win against Texas A&M a week ago. Because of their schedule, the Irish are flying high, and everyone, I mean, we were guilty of it last week, on College Football Final on social media. It's like, oh, welcome to the playoff, Notre Dame. You got one of your big wins of the year, and then they go and do this at home. It's concerning because Riley Leonard has yet to throw a touchdown pass for Notre Dame, the transfer quarterback from Duke, who's now the starter. And it's the first time since 2007 that Notre Dame has not thrown a touchdown pass in the first 2 games of the season. I think Marcus Freeman is a remarkable coach. I think he's a really good recruiter, and I think the energy that he's installed at Notre Dame has been great since Brian Kelly departed for LSU. But if you're Marcus Freeman and you look at the schedule that you were given, next week you're at Purdue, then you got Miami, Ohio, and then you get a ranked game against Louisville. This thing was set for you to go on a playoff run. And losing to Northern Illinois is going to be one of those games that could come back and haunt the Irish. I said it, that I don't believe it's a fatal blow for their playoff chances, but I don't think it's good. And I don't think it's going to be good for them come resume time when you look at the totality of their resume and then this Northern Illinois loss is just lingering. Like, look, could Northern Illinois go on to win the MAC? Sure, great. But again, for Notre Dame, not a good look in week 2, but a great look for NIU out of the MAC. So cheers to them and their fan base and their head coach. It's a great story. He played football at Northern Illinois. He got the win. He was emotional after the game. So really, really fun game in a matchup you didn't expect. I forget what the point spread was, but it was Notre Dame by a lot. I want to say 28-29, and NIU goes in there and gets the win. That's cheers number 1, because I think it was the biggest story. Cheers number 2, Matt Rhule and Nebraska. And people are going to be piling on Deion Sanders in Colorado this morning And usually I say it's unwarranted, but in this case, it's warranted. What Nebraska did to them doesn't even begin to explain the final score and the outcome. Dylan Raiola, number one ranked recruit in the country at quarterback, is a true freshman. He has instilled, along with Matt Rhule, belief that Nebraska can get back to where their fans believe. 28-10 isn't even indicative of the ass beating that Nebraska put on Colorado. So cheers to the Cornhuskers and their fans for year 2 under Matt Rhule, getting a win. It wasn't a statement win because I just don't know that Colorado's that good. It was a statement in that it was a national television audience against the biggest star in coaching in college football. But here's what I'll say about Colorado and Nebraska. And I find that this is a picture inside both of these programs with where they're headed. It is year 2 for Nebraska and Matt Rhule, and it is year 2 for Coach Prime in Colorado. Usually year 1 is about setting the roots and the foundation, and there are going to be bumps. There were bumps last year at Colorado. There were bumps last year for Matt Rhule. That's year 1. You want to get in some of your players. You want to start recruiting. You want to bring in some portal guys and really start laying the foundation of what's going to be the program that you're trying to build. It is clear to me after last night's game, Matt Rhule is building a program. Matt Rhule is taking this job, developing players, getting the number 1 ranked high school quarterback. He is laying the foundation for what he believes he's going to have to do to make Nebraska a player in the Big Ten. Colorado's not anywhere near that. Coach Prime has done a good job of building a story. Coach Prime has done a good job at building a brand. Coach Prime has done a good job of putting his team under a spotlight. But there is a huge difference. It is not even debatable, the difference between building a team and a spotlight and building a program that's going to sustain success throughout the year and throughout the years. Matt Rhule's doing that. Colorado's not. And we talk about this on the Matt Barrie Show presented by Allstate. Paul Feinbaum joins me every week. We discuss how this is alarming for Colorado because there's no question Shedeur Sanders, he's going to go to the NFL. He's a wildly talented quarterback. And Travis Hunter's the best two-way player in the sport. When those two are gone, when you lose those 2 stars to Sunday, what has Coach Prime done behind them that makes you believe they're going to be good enough to be a team in the Big 12 that you're going to have to contend with year in and year out? And that's the biggest question on this Sunday, Bloody Sunday. Is Colorado planting the seed that are going to bear fruit over the next 2, 3, 4 years? Or is this just a superstar team that might be 6-6 that's going to have no answers come the end of the season? Because if I'm pushing stock and I'm buying stock and I'm saying, okay, this is the team I'm going to invest in, I'm going all in on Nebraska of these 2. I'm pushing in on Matt Rhule, who's developed programs at Temple. He's developed programs at Baylor, and he's doing it again at Nebraska, a storied program with resources. If I'm Colorado, I am worried about what happened last night because that's a game with 2 programs in year 2. Who are you going to bank on going forward? I think it was answered pretty clearly last night with what Nebraska did to Colorado. Another game I want to get to here on Sunday, Bloody Sunday. Cheers to Sark in Texas. They go into the Big House. They win 31-12 over Michigan. Year 2 or week 2 again for Texas tends to be one of those weeks that they really show the country that they're legit. They did it last year against Alabama. They did so yesterday in the Big House. Quinn Ewers, 3 touchdown passes, 246 yards. Michigan exposed for what they are. They're not a top 10 team. And that is not a negative take on who Michigan is. 1, they lose their head coach who built Michigan into a 3-time defending Big Ten champion and a national champion. There is naturally going to be a letdown or an exodus of talent after that head coach moves on to the NFL. I don't think Michigan is bad. I just don't think they're a top 10 team. And this schedule, Sharon Moore is about to figure it out. And they better do something on offense because the offense at this point inapt is being nice. But they'll get the win next week against Arkansas State. And then they go and play USC. He makes a trip to the Big House, which, by the way, that's got Rose Bowl fields written all over it. We'll see what they do against Arkansas State because you hope they can kind of get out of this funk offensively, because USC, with the way that they're playing, it could be an early season for Michigan where they're like, what the hell happened? How did that happen? And so cheers to Texas for proving last year wasn't a fluke. And I guess in some way, sorrow, cheers for Michigan. And I say that because you won the national championship. You brought your hero home in Jim Harbaugh, and he did exactly what he set out to do. I don't think there's any problem with stepping back a little bit to let Sharon Moore figure out what this NCAA investigation is going to do. It's going to be a long season in Ann Arbor. Go check the tape. I said Florida State wasn't a top 10 team based on what they had coming back. And I said Michigan wasn't a top 10 team based on what's coming back. The country saw it yesterday, and they suffered a loss to Texas. Another cheers, Alabama. They got the win 42-16, but the cheers in this one, dedicating the field. It is now Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium. I love this dedication. It was a chance for Alabama to celebrate the success that Nick Saban brought to Tuscaloosa, 6 national championships, 9 SEC championships. I love when teams do that for someone who deserves it. So cheers to Alabama. It was shaky for a little bit, but they ended up pulling away late from USF, who for some reason plays them tough. Really cool college football moment. And my final cheers of the day, week 2, Sunday, college football, Sunday, Bloody Sunday. And by the way, sorry for the voice. I talk all day Saturday, and then I wake up with no sleep, and I sound like Larry King smoking a carton of cigarettes. It is what it is. Final cheers. Good old Rocky Top, Tennessee. Bold proclamation time. They have a defense. They have the most exciting young quarterback in the sport, Nico Iamaleava. They've got Kent State, Oklahoma, who barely skated by Houston, scary, Arkansas, Florida. And it all comes down to October 19th in Alabama. I believe Tennessee will go into that game, let's see, 3-0, 4-0, 5-0, 6-0. I believe they're going to go into the Alabama game 6-0. Tennessee has the opportunity to be that team in the SEC that we thought would be good. We didn't know how good they would be. We knew Georgia was going to be the class. We know Alabama is always going to be good. We're a little bit surprised by LSU. Ole Miss has the talent. Missouri's loaded on offense, and they have a favorable schedule. Come October 19th against Alabama, you are really going to see what Tennessee is all about. I have a feeling after that weekend, we're going to be talking about the Volunteers as the team. Georgia, we know. Texas, we know. Tennessee could insert themselves as not only a legitimate SEC championship contender, but a college football playoff contender as well, which would wreak havoc on a conference where we've ID'd 4 or 5 teams that we think are getting in. Telling you what, Josh Heupel, he's got something special going there in Rocky Top. So cheers to the Tennessee and the Vol Army, who got a big win last night against NC State and Charlotte. So if your team lost, drink it off all day. If your team won and you drank it off last night, don't worry. That's what Sunday Bloody Sunday is for you and me to sit and talk college ball after another amazing Saturday. We move on to week 3. Get through the week. We'll be right back here next Sunday, Sunday Bloody Sunday, on the ESPN College Football YouTube channel.